Hey, fourth graders, it's Mrs. Long, and today we are going to be talking about the value of digits. I know that might seem a little bit crazy, but hang in there with me because I think that you're going to get a really good understanding of that. So in your last lesson, you learned a fun story about Number Valley and how that story can help you to remember your place value. So we're going to be using Number Valley and our place value in all of our lessons for this whole unit. So I really want you to have that story in mind. If you need to go back to your previous lesson and rewatch that video, go ahead and do that because I want you to have that story, like you can tell that story to your friends. Okay, so today what we're going to be looking at is we're going to think about the value of digits when they're in their place. Okay, so if I have a number, like let's say, let me grab my pen. Let's say I have the number 143. All right, the number 143. What is the value of this 4? How much is that 4 worth? Well, its worth depends on its place. So if I put it into my place value chart here, I have 143, and I can see that I have 4 tens, so its value is 4 tens or 40. Okay, is everybody following me so far? Now let's look at a different number. What if I have the number 497? Notice my 497 also has a 4, but does this 4 have the same value as this 4? Well, let's put it in our place value chart. We have 497. Is the 4 in the same place? You're probably saying, no, Mrs. Long, the 4 is not in the same place, and that's good because it's not. It's in the hundreds place. So in this case, this 4 is worth 400 or 400s, however you want to say it, okay? So this one is worth 4 tens. This 4 is worth 400s. So it's worth more, right? As we move up, what if I have, I'm going to have to erase some of this over here because I just don't have enough space. Okay, so we have the first 4 is worth 40. I'm going to go ahead and rewrite that. The first 4 is worth 40. The second 4 on 497 is worth 400. All right, let's say I have the number 4,620. 4,620. Now where is my 4? Let's take a look at it. All right, now I'm in the thousands place. So this 4 is worth more than these two. This 4 is worth 4,000. So the value of a digit depends on where it falls in this place value chart. And every time I go up on my place value chart, my value gets bigger, right? You guys saw that. This 4 is worth 40. This 4 is worth 400. This 4 is worth 4,000. So every time I went up, my value got bigger. Do you guys see that? The value of these numbers is bigger. So, okay, how much bigger? Well, let's take a look back at our numbers that we wrote over here. We have 40, 400, 4,000. I want you to pause for a second and just make some observations. We're going to do this a lot in math where we're going to do what do you notice? What do you wonder? Okay, so right now we're really focusing on what do you notice? What do you notice about those 3 numbers? 40, 400, 4,000. Go ahead and pause for a second and take a look at them. Okay, now you're back with me and I want you to think in your head what you noticed. I notice that every single one of them has a 4, but the 4 is in a different place. I notice that as I add zeros, the value gets bigger. And every single time the value got bigger and it moved over one place, like here it moved from the tens to the hundreds, here it moved from the hundreds to the thousands, I added 1 0. Do you notice this? This number has 1 0. This number has 2 zeros. This number has 3 zeros. Okay. That's an interesting observation. Now I want to think back to what I know about multiplication. What do I know about multiplication? And I'm going to specifically focus on multiplying by the number 10. Do you guys know, and I'm going to actually scroll down here so that I have a little bit of space to write, and then I'll come back up to my place value chart. Do you guys know that when we multiply by the number 10, we actually can do something so cool? The number 10 is a really special number when it comes to multiplication. Every time I multiply any number times 10, all I'm doing is I'm adding a 0 to it. So if I multiply 4 times 10, I get 40. And then if I take 40 times 10, I get 400. What do you think 400 times 10 equals? Well, I'm going to follow the same rule. I'm going to add a 0, so it's going to equal 4,000. All right? Anytime you multiply a number by 10, you add a 0. Okay, so now let's think about this rule. We're going to scroll back up to what we were just looking at. Okay, so if I wanted to know how many times bigger the 4 in the tens places than the 4 in the hundreds place, well, one's worth 40, one's worth 400. I added a 0. So what do you think I multiplied by? If you said 10, you are correct. Every time I go up a place, it's 10 times bigger. That is why our number system is called the base 10 number system. Everything's in groups of 10s. Think back to your place value blocks, right? How many ones cubes did it take to make a 10 stick? 10. How many 10 sticks did it take to make a hundreds block? 10. How many hundreds blocks did it take to make a thousands cube? 10. And it's the same no matter how high up we go, even up here in the millions. This 10 millions, 100 millions is still 10 times bigger. It doesn't change no matter how high up you go in the place value system. So that's so cool. And you know what? The opposite is also true. If I go down, guess what I'm going to divide by? Because opposite of multiplication is division. I'm going to divide by 10. It's 10 times less. So as every time we go up a place, it's 10 times bigger. Every time we go down a place, it's 10 times less. So cool. All right. So what I want to do is I'm going to scroll back down here and we're going to think about some problems. Okay. Let me just go ahead and erase this right here off my board. And let's look at some examples that we could see where we're learning about this standard, how we might see questions asked, because that's the whole thing. Like we can understand, okay, I get this, but then you read a question and you're like, I don't understand what the question's asking. So let's say Johnny, I'm actually going to make it John, so I don't have to write too much, found 143 shells at the beach. Okay, so Johnny found 143 shells at the beach. And Bill, I'm trying to write easy names that I can write with my mouse really easily, found 100 and let's say here, 36 shells. All right. How many times greater is the value of the 3 in Bill's number than the value of the 3 in John's number? Well, anytime we're talking about the value of the digit, I want to think back to my place value chart. Okay. If I need to draw a quick little place value chart, I can do that, right? I can make my quick little hundreds, tens, ones. This one only has hundreds up to hundreds place. So we have our hundreds, we have our tens, we have our ones, and I can write my two numbers in there even, right? I could do 140, and I'm actually going to change colors for our focus number, which is 3. And let me go back to the original color. And then we have 100. 36. Okay, now as I'm doing this, what do you notice? Let's look. John's 3 is worth 3. Bill's 3 is worth 30. How do I get from 3 to 30? I multiply by 10, right? I've added a 0. I've gone up 1 place value. So Bill's 3 is 10 times greater than John's 3. We could write it 10 times. Oops. See, I'm writing with my mouse, so it takes a lot of focus. Greater. Okay, so as you're doing these problems today on your practice, what I want you to do is to draw these place value charts, okay? Just like I just did here, super simple place value chart, okay? And you are going to look at that and you're going to think, okay, how many times greater is it? So you're going to draw a really simple place value chart. If you need to add the thousands, you can add this other block over here with it just split really quickly, all right? It doesn't have to be fancy, but I want you to draw this for each of your problems so that you can see how many places up it goes, all right? Every time it goes up 1 place, it's 10 times bigger. You may even want to color code yours like I color coded mine, where you're looking at your focus number and you're going to write your focus number in a different color so it stands out really nicely. I really like how that looks because it's really easy to see and be able to think through the problem, okay? So that's going to be what you're going to work on today. You're going to be figuring out how many times bigger the value of a number is. Remember, you're thinking all about the value, and everything's going to be in groups of 10. Now, really quickly before you get to your lesson, I do want to jump back up here really quick to my place value chart. What if I were to compare this 4 in the tens place to this 4 in the thousands place? Well, now how many spaces am I jumping up? I know that this is 10 times bigger, but I had to jump up twice. Is it 20 times bigger? No, we're dealing with multiplication. 10 times 10 is 100. So everything again is in groups of 10. 10 times bigger, 100 times bigger, 1,000 times bigger. Okay, it's not going to go 10, 20, 30. We're not skip counting by tens. We're multiplying by tens. Remember that. We are multiplying by tens because this is the base 10 number system. Or we're dividing by tens. We're getting smaller by groups of 10. It's always going to go in groups of 10. All right? I will see you guys back in our next video. I hope you have an awesome day and good luck with your math. If you need to come back to this video to review anything, please feel free to do so. This is here to help you, and you can access this video anytime as you're going through your math lessons to help you understand and review the lessons that you're working on. All right, bye guys.